Hi everyone, it's Tanya, and today I'm here to do my 5-star predictions for 2020. So mind that most of these books are not published in 2020. There will be a couple of new releases, but the rest of the books are backlist titles. That is the word, right? Backlist titles. And some of them are even classics that I haven't read, and I anticipate to love those books. So we have a lot of books to talk about. I didn't count, but it's approximately 15. So let's just jump straight into it. First, I'm going to show you books that I already have. I have already acquired. Let's begin with this book. This book is Lolly Willows. And this is a story, as far as I know, about a woman who doesn't have a family, and she is forced just by the circumstances to live with her brothers, but eventually she decides that she wants to move back to her small hometown, and she decides to become a witch. And I love witch stories. I love books about witches, books with like independent protagonists, female protagonists, and I anticipate to love this book. I read that this author is a very peculiar one, and not everyone loves her writing, but people who love it, just a huge fans of her. So I'm also excited to find out for myself whether this author is for me or not. The next book I anticipate to love and give 5-star rating once I read it, because it's a huge one, is I have already talked about this book a lot of times on my channel, and this is The Dreams of the Red Chamber. This is one of 4 the most celebrated Chinese classics, and this book is huge. It's like 1,000 pages, around 1,000. It's 966 pages, so that's a lot. And basically it's an account of life of women in China in which century? In 18th century China. And it's renowned for its epic scope, large cast of characters, and telling observations of the life and social structure of China at that time. I haven't read anything from Chinese classics. That's why this is going to be my first Chinese classics book, and I am very excited about it, and I anticipate to love it. I just feel that it must be incredible. I like long books because I can really be consumed by the story and by the world, and I get to really know the characters very close. So just judging by the length of the book, I feel that I will have enough time to start to care for the characters and love them, and consequently give this book 5 stars. The next book is actually a very short one, but I just know that I like such books, and this is So Far from the Bamboo Grove, and this is a very short novel. Also the text is very big, and it's like 200 pages, but basically it's an account of a Japanese family which was living in Korea during Japanese occupation of Korea, but eventually after the Second World War, when Japan was forced out of Korea, they also were forced to move back to Japan. The daughter of the family, she doesn't really know anything about Japan, because her whole life she has been living in Korea, and it's just her account of like learning, I guess, her culture, and also struggles of her family with, like moving from one country to another, and also just struggles of that time period. So I think even though it's short, I feel that I am going to love it and really enjoy it. So this is my other 5-star prediction for 2020. Next book is also big, and actually I have started reading it. I don't know when I will finish, but I will finish it eventually. So this is The Luminaries by Eleanor Cotton, and again it's a huge book. It's like 800 something pages. I am, how many? Maybe 100. Oh, I'm 200 pages in, which is good. I'm actually really enjoying her writing. She writes in a very intelligent manner. I don't know, I feel like she's a very intelligent woman. I really enjoy her writing, even though this book isn't necessarily a page turner. It is a historical fiction mystery book. So what happens in the beginning? We have our main character who arrives to New Zealand. The place is called Hokitika, and he arrives there to search for gold because he wants to find his fortune. But in this place recently a murder happened, and also a woman, a whore actually, was found unconscious on the street, also practically dead. And then in the house of the dead man, who has always been an outcast, and he wasn't known for anything in particular, no one really talked to him, no one really knew him, a whole fortune was found. So there was a lot of gold found in his house, and there is this mystery of like what happened, why is he dead, why there is so much money in his house, who this money belongs to, because then arrives his wife, who no one knew that he had a wife. And yeah, so basically just this whole mystery, and our main character and a few other men from the town are trying to solve it. And it's basically, it consists of different conversations between different people, like, and it's not a page turner, but I just enjoy the slow pace of it, and I really enjoy the language that I don't know, I like this book. It's just that it's maybe a little bit difficult for me to read, but I anticipate it to be a 5-star read. Maybe it's not for everyone, because if people are looking for something extremely entertaining, something that would keep them on the edge of their seat, something that would be very fast-paced, this book is not for them. Like, this is just not that. But in my case, when I grade books, when being a page turner is not actually a criteria for me, I judge a book according on what I expect of the book to be. Like, if I expect that it's just an entertainment read, then yes, I will judge by how much it kept me on the edge of my seat. If I expect it to be an educational read, I judge by what I learned from it. If I expect it to be like a historical fiction novel about history, I usually just, of course, I am not an expert in history, but I just, you know, you can feel whether there was some research done or whether there wasn't any research done. And this book actually is, I feel like it's a well-researched book about that time period. And yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed the writing, so also 5-star read, I hope. The next book is also huge. You can tell that I like big books, but they, at the same time, they intimidate me, and I just sometimes keep postponing reading them. But this book is Mr. Strange and Dr. Moreau, and I expect it to be a very atmospheric and cozy and just England 19th century and magic and all of those things together. And it's going, I feel like it's going to be such a beautiful and interesting book and story. So I also anticipated to give 5-star reads, 5-star rating once I finish it. And I really like the cover. One more book that I'm 99% sure I'm going to give 5-star rating is The Kite Runner. And I'm so sure because I remember reading graphic novel based on this book, and I remember loving that graphic novel, just loving it. Now I don't remember exactly what happened there because it was a long time ago, but I just remember how much I loved the graphic novel, and since it was based on this book, I'm sure I'm going to love this book as well. Another book is Kata Beach, and this is, the way I imagine it to myself, it's like Harry Potter but in Africa. It's just the way, obviously I haven't read the book, so I'm not sure, but it's basically supposed to be a story of a girl who kind of goes to this magical school in Africa. For what purpose, I don't know. Ursula K. Le Guin praises the book. She said that it's very imaginative and there is so much imagination in just one page of the book. So I trust Ursula K. Le Guin because she is nowadays one of my favorite authors. You can watch my video about my favorite authors, and she is there. So if she recommends a book, I will read it and probably give it 5 stars. Next two books, but they're from the same duology, that's why I just talk about them at the same time, is Children of Blood and Bone and Children of Virtue and Vengeance. Again, they are based on African culture, which is I'm in the mood for, and which I'm interested in and I want to learn more about. Also about magic. Haven't read them, don't really know what they're about, but everybody loves them, at least the first book, and their second just recently came out. So that's why I think I'm going to love them too and give them 5-star rating. So now I'm going to talk about 2 new releases that are coming out in 2020. And the first being The Mountains Sing. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name of the author, that's why I will not even try, but you will see it on the book. And this is a historical fiction novel about Vietnam in 20th century, and we follow a family throughout a number of generations. First, we follow a woman born in 1920, and when she has to flee her house with her 6 children because of some land reforms that were conducted by the Communist Party at that time. And then later on we will follow the story of her granddaughter who loses her family to the war, and I feel like it's going to be like this huge long family saga with a lot of suffering, but at the same time it's interesting to read because it's based on real events and it's written by a Vietnamese author, and so we just can get to learn what people of that time actually felt, well, as closely as we possibly can, because the author is from current generation, but you know. So just the fact that the book is written by the Vietnamese author really intrigues me and fascinates me, so it's not just some outsider, you know, writing a book about a different culture. The next new release that I'm very sure I'm going to give it 5 stars is Magnificent Monsters of Cellar Street. And this is a story about a girl living in Boston in the 19th century with her father and caring for different creatures like magical monsters. But what they do has to be kept in secret because people on the outside, they don't really understand the monsters, they are afraid of them, they don't accept them. And one day the girl wakes up only to find that her father has mysteriously disappeared with almost all the monsters. And the only hint she has is a cryptid sign, and she has to use it together with her friends and a few monsters that are left to find her father and the rest of the creatures. And I feel that I'm going to love it. It's a middle grade novel, and first of all, I love middle grade novels. Second of all, I love books about monsters and magical creatures and all of that sort of things. So I'm very excited about this book, and I cannot wait to read this together with the other one, with The Mountains Sing. I think I will pre-order both of them and I will just read them as soon as they come out. The next book I anticipate to give 5-star rating, I think is like considered already to be classic, and it's The Collector. But I'm sure a lot of you already know what this book is about. It is supposed to be something like a psychological thriller. It also scares me a little bit because, you know, like a girl being abducted by a crazy person and then locked in the house. It scares me, but at the same time it also sounds interesting. So I'm afraid of the book, but I'm going to give it a try, and I anticipate to give it a 5-star rating, even though maybe I will not love it, like, you know, in a sense like we love Harry Potter and we want to come back to it, but just, you know, maybe this book will be something special for me. The next book is something that I'm going to love and this is The Family Under the Bridge. Again, don't know really much about it, but I guess it's a story about a man who doesn't have a house, so he's a homeless person, but he just finds children and he takes care of also homeless children. That's all I know, but I just read that it's a very heartwarming story, and I love heartwarming stories. Like, they are just my favorite reads in the whole wide world. So yes, I'm going to give probably this book also 5 stars. Next book is Cat's Cradle, and this is a fantasy, kind of playful fantasy about like irresponsible nuclear scientists, something like that. That's what they market it with. But a lot of people praise it and say that it's very also intelligent and just interesting perspective on science and the development of science and society. So I think I'm going to love it also and give it 5 stars. Next book is a historical fiction, and it's called Anne of Byzantium, and it's a story about a princess from Byzantium who was also very intelligent and educated, but then one day she just finds herself losing everything that she had. I don't know really much about this book. Historical fiction, which is one of my favorite genres, and a story about an intelligent, bright woman. I think I'm going to love it because according to the premise there is nothing not to love. Going to be a book that I learned about from Peru's project, and she read it this year and she gave it 5 stars, and she also said that it was her favorite. It is Lies of Locke Lamora. It's basically a story about a thief and his friends, and like how they go in different quests. I like books about thieves. I think I'm going to love the main character and also thoroughly enjoy the story, so I think it's going to be another 5-star read for me. Next book is a middle grade novel by Stephanie Burgess, and this year I read one of Stephanie Burgess's books, Dragon with Chocolate Heart, and I loved that story so much. So that's why I anticipate to like this book as well, and this book is called Paquette Incorrigible. It is the first part in this series about a girl who is a witch who discovers that she has inherited her mother's magical powers, but her mom has passed away, and now she lives with a stepmother who is completely against all the magic in the house. But our main character isn't going to give in, but she's still going to learn magic and to be a witch. That's why, yes, I think again, story about witches and middle grade novel, and I anticipate to just love it. This book is the 5th season, and again I learned about it from Peru's project, and again she loved it. And this book actually won the Hugo Award, and I guess every book in the series won the Hugo Award. That's why it says something about the book and about writing, right? So I anticipate to love it. But it's a dystopian novel about a world that is constantly on the edge of the end of the world, and just like community and people trying to survive in that conditions. Normally I don't read dystopian novels, but since Peru's project recommended it so highly and praised it so highly, and since all the books won Hugo Awards, I guess there must be something special about the books, and I want to read them, and I also anticipate to love them. And the last book that I want to talk about is A Month in the Country, which is an account of healing after the First World War, when our main character comes to a small village and just helps to restore it and restores his own well-being after the war. I don't really know much about the book, but I just feel that it's going to be something heartwarming probably, and hopeful, and just something very warm, and I like these types of books. That's why I hope that I will also really enjoy that, and I will give it also 5 stars. So yes, there you have it, guys. I don't know how many books I didn't count, but you know, a few books that I anticipate to love in 2020 and give them 5 stars. So let me know in the comments what books are you planning on reading in 2020, which books you think you will give 5-star rating. And yes, thank you so much for watching. I hope you are having a wonderful day, and I will see you soon in the next video. Thank you, bye.